Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome. So today we're talking about my March TBR. So I quickly want to preface this by saying, as I usually do in all of my TBR videos, my stack of books is like, it's about to fall over. And that's not what I usually say, but anyway, okay, that's fine. I fixed it, we're all good. But my TBRs are pretty much always like guidelines. I am a mood reader first of all, or first and foremost, and so I don't always stick to my TBRs, but since I'm also very indecisive, it's very nice to have a TBR. So anyway, and I just noticed there's gift wrapping paper in the background. We're gonna ignore that too. Okay. You can find links to all of the books that I'm talking about in the description down below, to both Waterstones and Amazon if you want to go check them out, because I realize, especially when it comes to books that I have not read, I am not very good at speaking, speaking in general. Yes, that's correct. But also summaries, synopses. I'm not good at that thing. And so to help you out, I'm just going to make sure to add links as well so you can go check them out for some better synopses than the ones I can give you. We have 10 books today, 9 physical ones and 1 that I only have on my iPad as an ebook. So let's get started, shall we? We're starting out with the book club picks as per usual. So the primary one for March is going to be A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen, which I'm so excited for. This is an alternative cover because it's the Fairy Loot edition. So you might know it as this one, which has like a girl on it. It's Norse inspired. I think there might be some Norse mythology in there as well about Vikings, in case you could not tell, and also runes on the side. I'm very excited for this. As a Dane, I'm very excited for this. As a Dane who loves Danielle L. Jensen, I'm like extra excited for this. So this is adult. I think it's technically fantasy romance, romantasy, I'm not really sure which one we're going with, but we follow a woman who has a drop of a goddess's power. Her name is Freya. First of all, I don't know whose god's power she has, but I guess we'll see when I start reading the book. I actually have an arc of this as well. But anyway, so she is fighting to unite her... Is it called a kingdom at this point? Would you call it a kingdom? I have this. In this Norse-inspired fantasy romance, our heroine, Freya, possesses a drop of a goddess's blood. She's desperate to prove her strength and unite a fractured nation, all whilst resisting her forbidden attraction to the king's son. So I'm expecting a little bit of like both forbidden romance maybe, but also definitely a bit of an enemies to lovers in this one. And Norse vibes, Viking vibes. And it's not stuff that I often come across in my books. Sure, we got like touches of Norse mythology here and there. It's like scattered all over Sarah J Maas's books, for example, but like she's also taken inspiration from a lot of other mythologies. But the whole Viking vibe is not one that I come across very often, so I'm very excited to be reading this. Hopefully it's good. Danielle L. Jensen though, like, yes, I'm expecting good vibes, you know? Then we have our secondary pick, which is The Scarlet Alchemist by Kylie Lee Baker. As far as I remember, this is a YA fantasy with some romance as well. So this is about a girl who travels to the capital. So she is basically scraping by. She takes money to like resurrect the dead or something, but she's desperately dreaming of becoming a royal alchemist. So she goes to the capital to partake in this like competition sort of thing. But while she's there, she's contacted by royal crown prince, the crown prince, because he's suspecting there's going to be an assassination attempt, and for some reason he needs her help. I'm not really sure how. Maybe she's like doing really good in this competition or whatever trials she's going through, and he's like, she's the one who's got to help me, but I don't really know. It's fine though. I guess we'll find out. But as it turns out, what he needs her help for, the assassination attempt, is it's very dangerous. It turns out to be very, very dangerous. And her illegal past of resurrecting the dead might slowly be catching up to her. So we'll see how it goes in this story. I've heard many lovely things about The Scarlet Alchemist, so I am hoping for good vibes from this as well. We will see. I'm very excited though. So for the third book, we're entering romance territory. This is actually on my TBR because Afterlight / Lee McCrate is doing a set of the Bergman Brothers books, and I desperately want it because it looks so cute, but like I don't think I can justify buying 7 books without having read one of them. So we're reading this one. If I hate it, the books are not going to be mine. Kind of unsure on how to summarize this book though, because it's not really giving much synopsis wise from what I can read on the back. Heard lovely things about it though, and I think there might be like a little bit of an opposites attract situation in this one. However, I'm gonna read out loud what it says on the back. Writer, why she hates me, I don't know. What I do know is that Willa Sutter is the kind of chaos I don't need in my tidy life. Wild hair, wilder eyes, bee-stung lips that should be legal, a temper that makes the devil seem friendly, and she's turned our business mathematics course into a gladiator arena. Willa, rather than give the lecture notes I miss like every other professor, I have been told to get them from the silent, surly, flannel-wearing mountain man sitting next to me in class. Well, I tried, and what did I get from writer Bergman? Ignored. As a female soccer player, I've battled men before, but with writer, it's war, and victory's going to taste so sweet. So, a stunning mix of hilarious tropes, swoony romance, and lovable, relatable characters. I think I have the 6th book as well, because for some reason I just skipped 4 of them. I don't really... 5? 4? 2, 3, 4, 5. I skipped 4 of them. I felt like I counted correctly at first, but then I started second guessing myself. Anyway, so... Oh, and this is by Chloe Lee's Only When It's Us. I think I forgot to say the title. It's fine. I'm really hoping to love this, but we will see, we will see. It's also kind of dangerous going into books like very much hoping that you love them because they could be extra disappointing to you, so I'm gonna tell myself just to like calm down a little bit before I start it. Another one I have an arc of that I haven't had time to read yet is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is not the arc, I just also have a paperback of it. I happened to get the arc after I pre-ordered and I didn't want to cancel. What I will say though about Bride is that I don't really know much about it other than it's about a vampire and a werewolf, and it's by Ali Hazelwood, who can do no wrong in my opinion. It's a romance first and foremost, but there's obviously also fantasy vibes to it, and I am super excited. Also because I am not so much for werewolves to be honest, but like vampires, I absolutely love. So we'll see. We'll see about this one, but I'm very excited. I'm hoping it'll be good. I'm suspecting it'll be good. So I have another, or not another, it's a special edition, but it's the first Illumicrate one. It's the only Illumicrate one. So A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross. This is one of the 24 books that I need to read in 2024. It's the sequel to A River Enchanted, which we read with a book club. Was it last year or was it 2022? I can't remember. It's been a while though, and it was so good. Such a lovely book. So I just have a tendency with series, whether they're duologies or anything more than that, I just tend to read the first book and then I'm like scared to go into the sequel because I love the first book, and I just, you'll see that in a second as well. It's a pattern with my TBR this month. I'm not gonna lie. But I gotta overcome my fears this year, I've decided, so we're gonna read a lot of sequels this year. A Fire Endless being one of them. This is adult fantasy with romance. The first one was so lovely. We follow, what's his name, Jack? I think his name is Jack, who has been living away from this island where he grew up for a while. He plays music, which is a very important thing to note. And so one day he gets a letter because things are happening back at the island and they need his help. There are girls going missing, and so he needs to help figure out where they've gone. The thing about this island is that it's split up into 2 clans. So you have the, I think it's the West and the East, and they're not like working together at all. There's a whole like, I think they almost talk about them as tribes, but I can't really remember. And so, you know, they have to find out where the girls have disappeared to, all while this like, or not tribes, they call them clans, but all while this like clan war-ish going on. It's not like a straight up war because they're not like physically fighting on a daily basis, but they're not allowed in each other's halves of the island, and so there's a bit of like a thing going on. Another sequel that I actually started right after I read the first one, but then I just didn't have time to read it at the time, is Muse of Nightmares, which is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer. This is by Laini Taylor. The first book was a 5-star for me. I loved it so much. I thought it was so beautiful. So I've been eagerly awaiting me gathering courage to put the sequel on my TBR because that's all it's about. Nothing's been stopping me from reading this book, not really, aside from not really having time to read it back when I started the first time. But like aside from that, I've just been postponing because I'm scared. that I won't like it as much as I like the first one. So, but this is YA fantasy with romance. We follow, in the first one, we follow Strange, or Laszlo Strange, who is a librarian. He's grown up an orphan in this library, and he is obsessed with this place that, it might sound weird, but like everyone forgot what the place is actually called, so they gave it a new name, and they're calling it Weep. He's obsessed with this place, to the point where he actually learned the language that they speak there, although he's never visited. But he's like very much drawn to this place. And so one day, this guy comes into town where Laszlo lives, and he's collecting a team that he can take with him to Weep because they need to figure out some things there, and there's like a bird in the sky and stuff. And he ends up actually bringing Laszlo with him as part of this team. And things are weird when they arrive in Weep. Like, Laszlo is dreaming of this blue girl, and people are having nightmares, and there's a bird in the sky, like a huge bird. It's sort of like a plane or an airship or something. Not a plane, it's just like floating in the sky. It's a huge bird. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a bird. Yeah. And he's dreaming of this blue girl and the moths, and it's all just very, very weird. So can't really say much about what happens because it kind of ended on a cliffhanger, and I am nervous to start this because I am nervous. So yes, that's all I'm gonna give you. I would definitely have the sequel ready if you're planning on going into this one, at least if you like it like 50 pages into it. I will say, or not this one, but Strange the Dreamer, I will say that this is not typical YA in the sense that it's very written-wise, like language-wise, prose-wise, it feels very mature. It's very lyrical and very descriptive and just very like atmospheric. A little bit slower on the plot, but like lots of vibes in it. So yes, Muse of Nightmares. And I'm nervous. Another one that I'm extremely nervous for several reasons. Both, I loved the first one. Absolutely loved it. I think it was another 5-star for me. But also, this one I have heard mixed things about. I will say on Goodreads it seems like people in general are very happy about it, but at the same time, the negative voices are very loud about it too, so I'm a bit like, oh gosh, where is the series going? Like, I don't really know. It was on my January TBR as well, I just didn't have time to read it. I barely had time to read anything in January. But Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, which is a sequel to Fourth Wing, and I'm so nervous. Okay, I'm so nervous to read this, but like, we gotta do it. I can't just leave Fourth Wing where it left off. Like, I can't just leave it like that. No. So, but in Fourth Wing, oh, this is like, I don't know if you would call it adult or new adult, fantasy with romance, no, I would say fantasy with romance. Yeah. There's like several definitions of what romantasy is, and I don't think I have figured out which one is the right one. People like go in different directions with it, so like, anyway, I'm gonna say this is fantasy with romance. But in Fourth Wing, we follow Violet, who is the daughter of like a very higher standing woman in this world. And she is being sent off to the academy. Basket, I think it's called. She was supposed to study to become a scribe. It was like a bit of like a librarian role, but instead she is commanded by her mother to become a writer all of a sudden, a dragon writer. And she has not prepared for this at all. The dragon rider is prepared for this like for a long, long time. She's basically just thrown into the trials, and they're dangerous. Like your life is life-threateningly dangerous, okay? To top it off, you can trust no one that you're participating in the trials with, by the way. You can trust no one. But to top it off, one of the like wing leaders or whatever they're called is someone who she doesn't necessarily have direct history with, but her family has history with his family, and he is out to get her. Like, he has promised if she's gonna fall, it's gonna be at his hands, you know? And so it's about Violet going through these trials and everything that's kind of going on behind the scenes at this academy and with this like army-like society that they have going on. It's very strange, and there's a lot of strange things happening. Also, there's rebels and stuff. Like, yeah, you know that very early on. It's not really a spoiler. There's definitely rebel talk going on in these books. If you're curious, this is the Waterstones edition. Why did I just cover up the edges completely? I just thought I'd let you know. if you saw the edges and were like, hello, what is that? Just the Waterstones edition. And I'm nervous because the first book ends off on a cliffhanger that is a little bit like it's a mean one. It's very much a mean one. And so I don't know how I have not read it yet. Anyway, our third last, actually let's talk about another sequel before, well this is also a sequel, but let's talk about another one. The only one that I don't have a physical copy of, it's also an ARC though. It's, what is the title? It's a very long title. Emily Wilde's Map of the, what's it called? Oh, Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and it's the sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, which is also adult fantasy with a little bit of romance. I didn't love the first book. I'm willing to give the sequel another try. The first book is like written like a journal, so we follow Emily Wilde as she has gone off to this place in this like fictional Norwegian place. It's like a fictional Norwegian island or something. But like the characters there had Icelandic names and I don't know. Anyway, she is trying to gather information on fairies or the fair folk or whatever they call them in that book. And because they have different names from book to book, it's getting difficult to keep track of, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, so it's about her gathering information on this, and some things happen while she's on this island, and it's also about her like trying to get a little bit closer to the population there, the people there. She's at this very small town, there's not a whole lot of people, but she's very much keeping to herself, and she's just slowly being shooken out of her little bubble, if you will. I didn't necessarily love it. I think part of it was that it's because it was written like a journal, and I think the sequel still might be, but I also think I might be a little bit more okay with it now. Also, another part was that I didn't love the romance guy. What's it called? The romantic interest. The romance interest. Yes, I didn't necessarily love him for reasons that I can't really say here because spoilers. But I don't know, I just don't fully agree with certain behavior of his. But anyway, but we'll see. I'm willing to give the sequel a try. Also because I got an ARC of it and I feel rude not to read it. So that's happening here in March. Also, it feels like a March book, whereas the first one was definitely very much a winter read. If you're planning on reading it, I would do it right now before winter is completely over, unless you live in one of those warmer places where winter is actually over. Save it for when it's winter because there's snow all the time in Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. At least if you're like one of those readers who like reads according to season. I've been there. I've kind of gotten out of it or like away from that, but I've been there, so I get it. It's a winter book, definitely. Then we have another sequel. I know, what's with the sequels? Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare, which is the sequel to Lady Midnight. It's the second book in the Dark Artifices trilogy, part of the Shadowhunter universe, and it's YA fantasy, but like urban, I think you could call it. It takes place in Los Angeles. There's a bridge. Okay, there's a bridge. You can probably recognize the bridge. I think it's Los Angeles, but like, I don't know, maybe they've traveled elsewhere for this one. I actually really adored the first book. This is like definitely a bit slower. Cassandra Clare's pace is not like, because you know you can get the YA that's like thick books like this where the pace is like not necessarily slow, it's just things are described very meticulously, and you can get the YA that's like 300 pages that's just like bam bam bam. This is more like a slower pace. My camera messed up a little bit, so I kind of lost where I'm at with this book, but pacing wise, yes, a little bit slower. It's not like, at least the first one, I can't speak on this one, but Cassandra Clare's books are usually like a little bit slower. But also Lady Midnight definitely ended on a cliffhanger, which was another mean one. So we gotta like move on with this trilogy. We gotta get further into it. I think, oh right, my Cassandra Clare shelf is not here anymore. I think the third book's like 800 pages as well. Like, oh, this is bought used, so you know, you get stuff like this. It's fine. I would never do that to my own books, I'm just saying. Definitely not on me. But like, I think this one is as well close to 700, if not 700. It's like $6.99. Yeah, $6.99. So we got I have so many pages to read in March. It's a good thing it's a 31-day month instead of a 29, isn't it? Yes, we're gonna use every day. Be very productive about it. Lastly, we have another book that is one of the ones that I wrapped up, a while ago. I just haven't gotten to it yet. And it's a romance by Lucy Score called Maggie Moves On. I'm unsure of what this is about exactly, other than YouTube star Maggie can't wait to dig into her next challenge. So what I think is she flips houses. She moves in and then redecorates them and like all of that stuff, and something about her neighbor or something. Yeah. Maggie's prepared to restore a crumbling Victorian mansion in 4 months or less. That actually sounds like such good YouTube content. Like, I would watch that. Are there people who do that on YouTube? Because I love stuff like that. Redecorating, and like, I could never myself because I have arachnophobia, so like I can't. But also I have spinal issues. Like, it's, yeah, I can't. That's just how it is. But like, I would watch it. I would eat that up. Probably not gonna get a whole lot of YouTube content from this book, but like, still, if you know any of like channels like that, let me know. What she doesn't have is time for sexy laid back landscaper. See, let's write. So, okay, he's not a neighbor, he's a landscaper that she is getting help from, and I don't know. Not when fans tune in to watch her travel the country, turning dilapidated houses into dream homes. A short-term fling, on the other hand, could fit nicely into her calendar. After all, Maggie remembers what fun is like, so she's basically gonna end up having like a bit of a fling with this guy, but is probably very drawn to him, and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna cause issues because she is traveling a lot, moving from place to place, and that's what her whole life is about, her whole livelihood. So we'll see about this book though. I'm very excited. Lucy Score usually hits the right spot for me, so... But the books that I've read of hers are also very long, and this one is a little bit more like a regular romance size. So we will see, but I'm very, very excited. I gotta like get matching tabs for this one, so we're gonna put her up here instead. But that's my TBR. If you've read any of the books, let me know your thoughts on them, whether it's positive or negative. Feel free to let me know. Just don't scare me away from the books is all I'm asking for. But anyway, again, if you want to check any of them out, I will make sure to leave links to them in the description box down below. But yeah, I also know that I'm a little bit behind on wrap-ups, but I'm recording the January one today, and I will be hopefully on time with the February one at the start of March. Other things got in the way of the January one, so we're a little bit behind, but I really want to talk about the books that I actually ended up having time for in January, so it should be on its way. If it's not up before this video is up, which it might not be, I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. I got so many videos recorded that I haven't had time to finish editing, so like, there's a lot still to be released anyway. If you want to stick around for any of it, feel free to hit the subscribe button though, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the thumbs up. However, I'm gonna leave you to it, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!